What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is good to have you here. You join me back in the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT, the high performance electric car from Ford. And today's video is all about the things I love and a little bit hate about this car. So let's get started. So let's start with the things I do not really like about this car to get them out of the way, because overall this car is awesome, so stay tuned for that. But the first thing I do not really like are the seats, and then the lower part of the seats especially. As this is the GT, you get these high performance seats from Ford, which are pretty good. However, the lower part where you sit on and also to support your legs is pretty short. As I am quite tall, I'm an exception, but the lower part is just too short. It's not really supporting your legs. Also, a buddy of mine who drove along yesterday is a bit shorter, but also he said, like, I would like to have some more support on the legs. Also, the adjustments of the seats are a bit limited. You can higher and lower the seat and go back and forward, but you can't really personalize the seat of it. So that's the first thing I do not really like about the GT. What I do not really like about this car is the noise coming from the wheel arches. When driving on local roads with some stones and chips going on, there comes so much noise from the wheel arches. It looks like there isn't just enough sound insulation going on up there and also in the back. That makes you feel like you are scratching and scraping your whole floor of the car, whilst there isn't really happening anything, but there's so much noise from chips and stones and things happening in the wheel arches. So I would have liked to have some more sound insulation up there. Another thing I do not really like is the lane keeping aid of the car. It's very sensitive, it does work all the time, it's paying attention and it works, so that's very fine. But it likes to keep you to the right side or the middle side of the road, especially when overtaking a truck or anything. I would like to be a bit more on the left side of the lane to keep a little bit away from the truck, who perhaps would go over his lane whilst not paying attention. But the lane keeping aid and the pilot assist tends to keep you a bit to the middle of the road. I prefer to be on the outside of the lane, so yeah, that's a personal one, but keep it in mind as it annoys me sometimes pretty much. Another thing here in the interior is the Bang & Olufsen sound system. Don't get me wrong, it works like a charm. It also looks very nice with the speakers over the entire cabin. However, I also experienced with the Ford Kuga PHEV, which I drove some weeks ago. Link to the video is now in the screen. Anyway, that the sound system, when you turn it over half of its max, that it gets really noisy. The sound doesn't get any better how louder it gets. So for example, if I compare that to my Volvo XC40 with the Harman Kardon sound system, which keeps or stays very clear when also turning up the volume, whilst in here I experience that it gets just really noisy, it really annoys you and it doesn't really, give that high quality of sound. Bear in mind that especially with FM it's not really good. With the digital radio it gets better, but make sure you put, for example, Spotify on the highest performance of it to make sure you get the best sound from this sound system. Otherwise it just gets really noisy. Then to conclude, a thing I do not hate, but I am a bit worried about, and that are the front lights of the car. When walking up to the car at an early morning or late in the evening, the lights are pretty foggy. And this car is brand new. It only got about 1500 kilometers or so on it, so it's brand new, but the front lights are already foggy inside. So that's a thing I am a bit worried about, especially over a longer amount of time, what effect that will have on the front lights of the car. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like this, or that perhaps Mach-E drivers should look into this and make it a warranty issue, because I'm not really convinced that is meant to be like this. So keep that in mind. What about this car is also being the GT, the exterior and interior look of this car. This one comes in the Cyber Orange, a Ford GT exclusive color. And it just makes this car look very special. On the outside, the front is very aggressive, also with that black, so to say, grille on it. And that front spoiler lip just looks very aggressive. Also on the back with that nice, high gloss black effect diffuser on it. It just looks awesome. Also up here in the interior with some Alcantara stitching going on. These Ford Performance seats that, despite the short leg support, are overall very supportive, which you need with this amount of power and torque. It just works like a charm, this look, and everybody looks at it, points at this car like, hey, what is that car? Look at the color, it looks special, it looks aggressive, it just looks awesome, this GT. Next thing I really like about this car is the visibility of it. Whilst driving in city centers, especially here in the Netherlands, you have plenty of pedestrians and cyclists and you need to pay attention the whole time. But fortunately, especially due to that little window up in the back, you can see around this car pretty well. You have plenty of visibility in your mirrors. Also in the interior one, you can look to the back pretty well, and just the visibility around this car, yeah, it's really good. I like it a lot, especially with the design of these kind of cars. The visibility at the rear pillar, yeah, it's not the best often, but especially due to that little window up there, you can see perfectly fine around it. Then the new Sync 4 infotainment system is also working like a charm. The nice big 15.5 Full HD screen up here in the center console, it's a big one, but it works like a charm. Very bright, very nice, touching goes perfectly fine. It's just very intuitive. Also with that one button for the sound or the volume of it on it, it's, yeah, that's really nice to have, especially whilst driving. You want to pay attention on the road and just turn off that music very quickly, and with that button you can do so. You also get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on it. Very big as well, displayed on the screen, so that's very nice to have. And just overall, it's very intuitive. It doesn't really take time to do something on the screen and draw attention to it instead of to the driving part of it. So, you know, I just really like this system. It's self-learning, so it also recognizes habits from you. So if you call, I don't know, your grandfather or I don't know, and anyone on a Friday afternoon, every time you drive home from work, the car will recognize that habit and at a certain moment suggest it to you, like, hey, shouldn't you call that person whilst driving home? The hardware side of this car is also prepared for fully autonomous driving already, so with an over-the-air update you will get that, well, as soon as legislation will allow. So overall, the infotainment system of this car works like a charm, very fast, very impressive. Good job by Ford. Last thing I like about this car is that there is so much more to like about this car. It's so impressive overall. I've really loved the time I've been driving this car this week. Especially this one, the GT. From the exterior, this car is just addicting to look at, especially in that cyber orange with the nice big wheels and all that. It just looks so impressive. And also here on the interior, the driving is so much fun, very involving, especially when you put it in the untamed mode with all the performance. It's just so good. The infotainment system works, it's intuitive, it's easy to learn. You got some nice buttons still here and there, also on the steering wheel. The pilot support systems are working fine. You know, I'm just so impressed with this car, and that is what I like about it. I would definitely purchase this car if I could. It's a bit expensive. Prices start from 75,000 euros in the Netherlands with tax and all that included, so please check that also for your home country, of course. But yeah, I think that's one to conclude with. I like this car for being so likable.